Okay, oops. Where's that zoom at? So we are back in the US of A, and this is the first Let's Live video since we've been back. And we're gonna cross a road in the United States. This is how you cross a road in the United States. Dum da dee da dum da dee da dum da dum da dee. And then you have lunch in the middle of the road, and you take a nap in the middle of the road. You know, you just kind of stroll in the middle of the road. Oh, you need to tie your shoe? Well, why don't you just do it in the middle of the road? Because this is a United States road. Dum da dee da dum da dee. Yep. This is what we call crossing the road in the United States, which is not like crossing the road in Thailand or Cambodia. Though I know, for those snarky people out there, this isn't a fair comparison. It's not a fair comparison, because I'm sure they have out-of-the-way roads in Southeast Asia too. But I do just think it's funny. Like, in all this time I've been talking so far, no cars at all. But anyways, we're going to be going on this nice little trail today for this Let's Live. This is called the Chote Mine Trail. That just sounds bad in all kinds of ways, but this is in the nice little Soldier's Delight Park, and it is May now, middle of May, balmy 70 degrees. It is funny. It's like, I mean, going from Southeast Asia, where I was just dripping sweat, like I'd be naked dripping sweat, and now same time of year, and I've got a sweatshirt on outside. I do like this weather, though. I do like this kind of weather. It's very nice and refreshing. I kind of like the weather where you have to have some clothes on. Like, I don't like to have a lot of clothes on. I'm not like a winter person, but I kind of like my clothes, you know, having jeans on, having a little overshirt on. Kind of like doing that. So this is my kind of weather. Looks like it may be another cool year for Maryland. Goes to show you, one place in the world is going through one of the worst heat waves in 65 years. And another place in the world is kind of cold. Just shows you, no matter where you are in the world, somebody else is having an entirely different type of life. And again, it's one of those things, people kind of get tunnel visioned. Like, if where you're at is cold, it's really easy to start to think the entire world is cold. Or if where you are at it's hot, it's easy to think that's happening everywhere. Where the reality is one place in the world is baking and dry, and another place in the world is cold and wet. I'll take the cold and wet right now. I will take the cold and wet right now. So I'm still feeling a little zonked, to be honest with you. Still feeling a little zonked. Whew. Again, this whole little jet lag thing is just wow. It's so funny. Like, when we went to Bangkok, getting over jet lag was real quick. It was real easy. Within 2 days, I was within the flow. But now it is Monday, and we got back Thursday, and I still feel weird. Last night I finally got to bed a little more reasonable. I got to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, and woke up at 10:30. So that's better. The last couple of nights I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning, and woke up at 1:30. So I am getting a little better there. But still, like I say, I still getting back in the flow. Very happy I did some of my Eli Computer Guy live videos today. So I am still doing the tech videos. At least for a while longer. At least till I'm making slightly more than $129 a month off of ad revenue on this channel. So I did 3 Eli Computer Guy live question and answer videos today. Felt pretty good with that. Trying to get back into the flow. There is a whole different mindset. It's funny. That's one thing to think about, like with any business that you're in. Like, all kinds of businesses have just different mindsets, just ways of thinking and processing information. So like when I do a Let's Live video, like when I'm doing this particular video, there's a way that my mind has to work. There's a way, it's kind of like you separate out. It's like my mind has to think about walking. My mind has to think about talking. My mind has to think about all of these different things. And it does it in a very specific way. Which is curious because it really is different than when I sit down in a chair and I talk into a camera. So here, like while I'm walking and talking, my priority is basically to keep talking, because that's what you're paying me for, to hear my dulcet tones coming out of my vocal cords. So I have to keep talking and make sure I don't like kill myself, you know, slip off a sandbag in the middle of Pattaya or whatever. Whereas, and so that's a very one way of thinking. And then like when I'm sitting in my chair doing the videos talking about technology or whatever, it's actually a different way of thinking, because since I'm not walking, I don't have to think about walking obviously, but then I do have to think about more about how the other side is interpreting what I'm saying. Because here, like the videos that I do are mainly supposed to be thought-provoking. Like I'm really not telling anybody what they should do in life. I'm just kind of like throwing out concepts and ideas, and then you guys can do whatever the hell you want with it. Whereas, in like the Eli Computer Guy Live or the technical videos, I have to think more about what is like the most appropriate advice. Like here, I can just throw crap against the wall. I can say the stupidest thing in the world. And as long as you folks think about it, as long as, oops, somebody coming behind me, and as long as somebody thinks about it and like inspires them to do something different, it's a-okay. Whereas with the Eli Computer Guy Live or the technical things, if I say something really zany or stupid, and then some poor schmuck actually does that, that doesn't work out. So I have to think about, like with here, I have to think about walking, whereas with that, I have to think about how is this actually being interpreted. Just because I understand the words coming out of my mouth, does the other person understand them? And if they use that for their professional development or their career, what's that really gonna turn into? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting with that. But yeah, we did 2 of those videos, and then hopefully, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, I'll be doing an Eli the Computer Guy video, either tomorrow or the next day. I have to figure what it's on. IX, whatever. The people that created FreeNAS, actually, they sent me this like $3,500 server they want me to play with. So I figure I should probably should actually play with that. No, I don't know. So it's a little easier. Oops. Whoa, puppy dog. It's kind of funny when you're in Southeast Asia and you have 1,000 people looking at you like you're an idiot. It's a little easier in a way. Like you come here in the US and there's so few people that you feel all of their eyeballs. Like when you're in Asia and you have people looking at you, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like 1,000 people looking at you is a statistic, whereas 2 people looking at you is an embarrassment. Something to think about as a YouTube content creator, because it's true. I say walking around like the middle of Calazan Road, and it's like, yeah, bugger off. But now that I'm here, and it's white people looking at me, I can feel their eyes. I can feel the eyes of the white man looking at me, saying, "What are you doing? You will not microaggress me. You will not microaggress me. I'm a YouTube content creator. We will not be downtrodden anymore. Oh, anyway, so what we're going to talk about today. What are we going to talk about today? What we're going to talk about today is YouTube and porn stars. And for anybody who came here for the clickbaity title, you probably want to leave, because it's probably... This is one of my videos. Yes, it is in fact about YouTube and porn stars, but probably not in the way that you're expecting. Probably in the way that will make you a sad little person. You're not going to see any nudes. Unless you see a deer. You see 2 deer having sex out here, that'll be your porn. But that's the closest you're going to get to whatever you'd be considered porn. But anyways, I'm going to talk about YouTube porn stars and why this is important. Because it came up. I was actually already thinking about doing this whole video on YouTube and porn stars. And then it was funny because last night, my father doesn't know that I'm doing this channel. So he knows about Eli the Computer Guy and Eli Computer Guy Live. But he had no idea about Fail Normal. And so I was, I just dropped the thing. I was like, yeah, we're back now. And then we'll be bouncing out in about 3 weeks. And then, of course, being a normal father means nothing like, oh no, how dare you ask me this? But he's like, oh, so how are you gonna do the Eli the Computer Guy videos while you're on the road? And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be doing the Eli the Computer Guy's videos on the road. I'm going to be doing Fail Normal videos on the road. And he's like, what? I was like, well, what I found in life is, for whatever reason, I have no idea why, but these folks just like to hear me babble and talk about these random concepts in life and technology and all that stuff. And so I'm going to try to monetize that. Instead of talking about servers and RAID and data deduplication, I'm going to talk about YouTube and porn stars and not slapping autistic people and all of that kind of thing. And I think that will be the way to go. And then the funny thing was, because, you know, you're just sitting there, you're talking about it, no big deal, again, there's no, like, fucking daddy issues or whatever with this. But then all of a sudden, he's like, oh, so what's the name of that channel? And then it was at that point where it's like, I kind of, like, froze up on the phone. Like, well, I don't know if I want you watching the channel. Because there is, like, this weird thing. There is this weird thing. Like, you have this, you know, you have the you that you present to your family, and the you present to your friends, and the you present to the professional world, and the you present to tuk-tuk drivers in the Southeast Asia. And now all of these are you. All of these are naturally you. But they're kind of like different yous, and they can seem incongruous. I keep tripping over words anymore. Incongruous? Intro. You know what I'm saying. Anyways. All of these parts that are you, but they all seem like normal, and they make sense within certain situations and within certain contexts. And then you rip the context away, and then they can just seem very, very, very weird, especially to those people that actually care about you and want to know what's going on, right? Oh. So where should we go today? I don't know. I am still feeling a little wonker. Let's go this way. You want to go Dolefield Trail? I know you're probably going to say Dolefield Trail. Red Run Trail. Oh, Dolefield, Red Run, Dolefield. You know, I'm still feeling a little wonky. We'll do Dolefield tomorrow or another day. We'll do Red Run. Red Run's a little bit shorter. Actually, quite a bit shorter. So we'll do Red Run today. But anyways, I'm going to do Red Run. What was I going to say? So, it can be incongruous. Yeah, that word. Incongruous? Anyways. All right. And so it was weird, because like I said, my father was like, hey, what channel is that? And it was really that feeling where it kind of like choked up for a minute. It was like, you know what? I really don't want to tell you what channel it is. Because I talk about things in this channel. And again, it's nothing that I'm embarrassed about. It's kind of weird, too. Because that's the thing. It's like, oh, Eli, but you always talk about, you know, like the New York Times rule, you know. You wouldn't put anything in, like, digital format that you wouldn't want in the New York Times. And here's a really weird thing. Like, even as I think about this, even when I talk about this, you know, there's a lot of stuff in my life I would have zero issue with on the New York Times that I would still not want to tell my father. It's like, I have zero moral, ethical, professional issues with many things. Doesn't mean I necessarily want to sit across the table from my father and explain it, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of a weird thing. And that's one of the things, like, I think a lot of people, when they become YouTube content creators, really don't think about. And why this has to do with porn stars is I remember way back when I was watching an HBO show. So HBO obviously does all these weird documentary-esque, you know, reality shows. And one of them they did way back when was actually on the business owner of a porn studio. So this person, their business, their entrepreneurial venture was to create porn movies. And so creating porn movies, they get lots and lots of people, lots of ladies coming in, wanting to do porn movies. It was very curious to me, but okay. So they come in for a job, and one of the things that I'll always remember, it was just one of those little weird little takeaways that I took away, is the guy was talking to the young women that would come in to be porn stars, you know, to literally get it up the hoo-ha every which way. And one of the things that he said is like, listen, before you take this job, before you get into a porn movie or any of that, what you have to realize is every male that you have to contemplate, that every male you know is going to see this video. Your uncle's going to see this video. Your cousin's going to see this video. Your dad may see this video. Not in a way like they're going to like search for your name and find the video, but let's face it, males like their porn. right? Males like their porn. They don't necessarily admit to it, but most males, almost all males, like their porn one way or the other. Lots of women like their porn too. And so the reality is, if you go out there and we put these videos out there, the men in your life that you know will see you get hoo-hawed 9 ways from Sunday. So really make sure this is what you want to do. And this is something to be thinking about, like I say, in this weird digital age. Because there's this view, I think it's a stupid view, and I've argued against this view for a long time. There's this idea of there's like virtual reality, and then there's reality. And somehow they are separated. At least in the American mindset. I don't know about other mindsets. I'd have to sit down and talk with other people about their mindsets. But in the American mindset, we really subdivide everything and categorize everything. And we have this idea that things are in bubbles, right? I've talked about this before. You know, you have your work-life bubble, and your family bubble, and your social life bubble, and all these different bubbles. And that somehow they're compartmentalized, and they really don't deal with each other. It's kind of like you have so many hours in a day, and so 4 hours go to your family, and 10 hours go to your business, and 2 hours go to your friends, whatever, right? And there's this idea that there's all these little bubbles. And people have come up with this idea, and I have no idea why, because it's just not how the world works, but that's what they have, right? And so one of the issues that you run into is, again, you have kind of like this virtual reality bubble, and then you have this reality bubble. And you see this a lot, especially on Facebook. Whew. And again, this is one of the reasons why I basically left Facebook. Now, I haven't totally left Facebook. I do have an account there, and I use something called Buffer app to dump crap in there every day. But I don't friend my friends. I don't do any normal stuff on there because I truly think Facebook is basically a bunch of garbage anymore. And one of the big problems that I've seen is that when people do things on the internet, when they do things on Facebook, or they do things on YouTube, or they do things on anything else, they have this idea that that is the internet. That is the internet, and that real life is real life. And here's the thing. When you piss people off, or you hurt people's feelings, or you do something stupid on the internet, people remember that in real life. I talked about that before, where I had dealt with a lot of the social networking stuff in Facebook back when I was trying to learn about the startup world. So I spent like 3 or 4 years all trying to get involved with the startup world. And I saw like so many just snark and meanness and just horribleness on like the startup Facebook groups. And then I realized that it really does creep into it doesn't even just creep into real life. It is in real life, right? You piss people off, you say snarky, asshole-ish shit on Facebook, and for some reason it just flows on Facebook. When you're on Facebook, you just say whatever the hell comes to mind. And you don't think, especially like I say with Startup World, you're gonna see these people at meetups, you're gonna see these people at events, you're gonna see these people at investor meetings. And if you gave them the middle finger on Facebook, they're not necessarily gonna like you when you need them to like you. You know what I'm saying? There's this idea that there's separation. And so that's one of the things, like you have a lot of people, especially with the whole porn industry. And again, I have nothing against porn. I genuinely, Eli, there's nothing against porn. If you want to go out there and get hoovered 9 ways from Sunday, that is your business. Again, I will say, as an upstanding adult, I think you should think about it. I think there are consequences, and I think there's things that go into it that a lot of people don't consider beforehand. But if you're an adult and that's your decision, go for it. Right? Again, if porn was evil, porn was so horrible and bad and evil, there wouldn't be so much of it. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, but one of the problems though is like with people that want to go off and be porn stars or whatever, is that they go out there and there's this idea that they can kind of do this without anybody really knowing about it. Kind of like being a stripper in the old days. Back in the quaint old days, in the 1990s, when a woman could go off and be a stripper in a different city, and then all the guys in that city may see all of her parts, but she doesn't have to worry about anybody outside of that city seeing her parts. But the thing is now, go to be a porn star, you're like, wow, I can make a couple thousand or whatever per day, but then you don't think, not only is that now globally, anybody in the world can see it, as long as they have access. But then it also never, ever, 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 ever goes away. Like if you're a stripper, right? If you're a woman and you decide to be a stripper, and you go out there and you spread your legs and you do all that kind of stuff. Here's the thing, and then you decide it's bad, it's dirty. You come to Jesus I came to Jesus and realized what I was doing was sinful. Well, here's the thing. If you're a stripper, frankly, even if you're a fucking prostitute, you can close up shop, you can go home, you can go to nursing school, and nobody really has to know about it, right? The only people that know about it are who your old clients were, and they're probably going to forget about you for, the next young thing that wanders out, right? You can, even if you're a full-fledged prostitute, you can put that in the past. You can put that in the past. But here's the thing. You go onto, you start creating porn, you start getting hoo-ha'd up the hoo-ha on video, especially on the internet. Now that will be around forever, right? Not only now, but in 10 years from now, your grandkid, your grandson may be seeing that crap. Man, grandma was sexy, right? And this is one of those things, like I say, that a lot of people don't think about. Even like I say, with it's interesting with the porn industry. Again, I talk with everybody. But I was talking with somebody who actually ran porn sites. One of the curious things you don't even think about is that a lot of porn sites kind of get passed around. Oh, it's so politically incorrect to say. But it's true. Like, the porn sites themselves get passed around. Like, there's these windows for profit on porn. And so what happens is people in the porn industry, they have all these videos, and then they'll actually sell them amongst each other, and there's values on all of this stuff. So that's a thing. See, it's not even like, oh, well, I put my video on, I don't know, Pornhub, and let's say Pornhub goes out of business or something. Well, or decides to pull the video or whatever else. Here's the thing, even if Pornhub goes out of business, that is actual intellectual property. I mean, you don't think about porn being intellectual property, but it's actual intellectual property, just like a normal movie, just like a Transformers movie. So if Pornhub goes out of business, they can actually sell all of those individual videos to other porn purveyors, and it can just keep going and going and going. And again, a video that's produced now, let's say, may have a $20,000 value. Now, you go 10 years in the future, styles change, all that kind of stuff. They like blondes instead of brunettes, or brunettes instead of blondes, or purple hair instead of whatever. And so it may not be worth $20,000 in the future, but maybe it's like $5,000. It's almost like a car, right? And so all this stuff gets passed around. And so that's one thing. Like, if you're going to do like the whole porn thing, is do you really want the thought that literally someday your grandkid may be fapping to you? That is just so fun. Like I said, when we start thinking about like time, isn't that so bizarre? Like the idea that a kid 50 years from now could be fapping to his grandmother's porn. I'm serious. I know. Like some of you guys Eli just went off the fucking bridge. But think about it. That's our modern world. It's so weird. Anyways, so what does that have to do with YouTube? Well, basically with YouTube, it's the same concept, and it goes along the same lines that I've been talking about before. And I was talking about this whole idea of YouTube as therapy before. I was talking about how a lot of people use YouTube for therapy. And I was talking about how Louis Rossman, talks about using YouTube for therapy. And that I always warn people, or I would say for people, they should be very cautious about the difference between using YouTube for therapy versus using YouTube to be therapeutic, right? And that's where I talked about before, where there's a difference. Like, when I go back and forth with Louis Rossman, or I go back and forth with Grade A, or I go back and forth with Barnacle Jerry, that is therapeutic. Because one of the problems that you find in the YouTube world, once you become a YouTube professional, is that it's a bit lonely out here. I know everybody has this idea that we're all doing like these weird ass collabs, and somehow we're this great, wonderful community. And again, Phil DeFranco may be part of this wonderful community. I guess is all in LA. But for most of us YouTube content creators, it's kind of lonely. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's a good job. Don't get me wrong, it's a good job, but there's no water coolers. Again, this is my office. This is my office. And let me tell you, this is an absolutely amazing office. I would not want to replace this office. But here's the thing. Do you see a water cooler in this office? Nope. Do you see a secretary in this office? Nope. Do you see a Xerox machine or anything like that in this office? Nope. Basically, this is an office of me and my video camera. That's a good little office. Again, I don't have anybody to complain about. I have no employees to complain about. That's a good thing. I have no bosses to complain about. That's a good thing. And I sure as hell don't have any investors to complain about, so that's even a better thing. On the other hand, it can get a little lonely every once in a while, right? Because imagine if your entire life, your entire business is revolved around you basically talking into a camera. Again, it's good, it's fun in a lot of ways, and other ways, like I say, it can get a little lonely, and if you're not in the right mindset.
Yeah. Hey.
See, look, puppy dogs.
Hey guys.
And they stop right here. This is what happens when you have a video.
So we're still seeing how he does with other dogs.
Yeah, he did good.
He's doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Good deal.
Whenever you have a camera, whenever you have a camera, I don't know what it is. They all stop like right there. Like, look at this trail. Like, look at that long, see that trail? That's a long trail. And yet somehow, they always stop like right there. They always stop like right there. They can stop anywhere on the trail. This trail is like a 3-mile trail. They can stop anywhere. And yet they stop like 4 feet away. I don't know what it is. I tell you though, you have a video camera. It's like, people are like, hi. But anyways, let this person walk a little bit. But what was I gonna say? YouTube. Oh yeah, so it can be a little lonely, right? It can be a little lonely. And so that's where I say, like, with YouTube or whatever, some of these things can be like therapeutic. So like when I give Louis Rossman crap, it's a way of communicating. It's not the end all be all, I go out and talk with other people, I talk with my wife, all that kind of stuff. But it's just a little bit of a back and forth, and that's a little bit of therapeutic, make sure you're not losing your mind, right? But as I talk about, that you have to be very, very careful that it's not therapy, right? So therapy is where you go off the deep end and you just start talking about like everything in your life. I've got this problem, I've got that problem, I've got the other problem. Oh me, oh my. Because again, people are interested in therapeutic things. Like, if you sit here and you talk a little bit about depression. It's like, okay, so I got a little bit about depression, and this is how I deal with it, blah, blah, blah. Talking a little bit about depression is good. It gets the thoughts, out of your head. Again, a lot of times communicating is a good way just to process things. It gets it out in the world. You feel a little better. On the other hand, once you start going into like the super deep, dark, horrible demons, that's where it's like, that would probably be better for a therapist. Again, therapeutic versus therapy. And so one of the things that YouTube content creators really have to be thinking about is that, again, there's this idea that you live like in this virtual world, that I put things out onto YouTube, and that is the YouTube bubble, that is the YouTube sphere. But like for me, like what I find really bizarre, find horribly bizarre sometimes, is that my wife actually watches a lot of these videos. Right? And so there's a lot of, there's a lot of the things I talk about on these videos, my wife watches. So it's just something to keep in the back of your head. Like, I personally don't have too many horrible things to say as far as my wife is concerned, but it's something to think about. If you start doing YouTube videos and then you start, talking about all, tits and ass and everything else, and then your spouse is watching, right? A lot of people don't think about it. Like, why would my spouse watch my videos? Again, I don't know why she watches the videos, but she does. She watches quite a few of these videos. She finds them enjoyable for some reason. It's like, oh, okay, that's weird. And I say, my father be like, oh, what channel is that? Like, Philip DeFranco. Dad, yeah, it's called the Philip DeFranco Show channel. Yeah, go watch that. You'll like him better. But not even that though, but like my what is it? My cousin first removed. What's your first cousin's kid? Whatever the hell that is, right? We all get together for one of the holidays every year, and it was funny because she was like 13 years old, and like one of these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, Indiana girls, and it was funny because then she was talking about like, oh yeah, I watch your YouTube videos for Eli, the computer guy, and there was just that moment of like a little bit of horror as you think of this adorable little corn-fed 13-year-old girl watching my YouTube videos. And I mean, I'm known for my less than politeness on that channel, you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, so what do you think about those videos? And she just all smiles like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I like you, you're funny. Like, oh, okay. But again, this is one of those things you don't really think about. You know, one of your, whatever the hell she is, my cousin first removed or whatever, that you see once or twice a year, that she's actually watching these videos, right? And it's just one of those weird things, and that's where I see, like with a lot of the YouTube content creators, they really don't seem to consider that other people are actually like watching like what they're doing, and that it will affect them in the real world, right? So a lot of people go on and, like I say, they go from therapeutic to therapy, and they start saying a lot of things, and you really have to question, like, is this what you want to have a permanent record of forever, right? Because I was thinking about this today, and again, one of the reasons it's topical is my father was asking about Fail Normal, and I swear, like, there's nothing on Fail Normal that I imagine that I would ever be worried about putting on the cover of the New York Times. Like, zero worry about putting it on the cover of the New York Times. On the other hand, it's not the same thing as sitting across the table from your father. Just so everybody's clear out there, because I know there's a lot of young people out there, and this is one of the things that I try to explain to everybody. Like, things don't change when you turn 18. Like, there's this weird thing, like I say, in the American society, we bubble everything, right? Sphere everything. So there's being a kid and then being an adult. There's this idea that, like, when you're a kid, you know, you got all your weird, goofy issues with your parents, and then you become an adult, and then you're an adult, and it all goes away. Kind of like with bullies. Like, there's this idea, like, when you're a kid, there are bullies, and then when you become an adult, there's not bullies. And that's a bunch of crap, right? When you're a kid, there are bullies, and when you're an adult, there are bullies. When you're a kid, you've got weird parent issues, and when you're an adult, you've got weird parent issues. Again, it's not horrible. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe. It just really is. It's like there's this weird thing. Like, I would honestly, without a doubt, put something on the cover of the New York Times. And yet if I had to sit across the table from my father, I'd be like, what did you mean by that, son? Well, you know, well, there was a reason for it. Well, son, what is the reason for that? Well, you know, it made sense in my head at the time. Right. But anyway, so I was talking to my father last night, and then I was watching Louis Rossmann today. And again, one of the reasons I talk about Louis Rossmann is he's just a good a good foil. He's just a good backdrop or whatever for talking about things, because you can go and you can watch his videos, and then you can figure out whether you disagree or agree with me. That's one of the things I like with YouTube content, and one of the reasons I'm talking about YouTube content a little more is not because I necessarily want to get into this whole world of drama or whatever on YouTube. I'm not gonna out DeFranco or Keemstar. Keemstar is a level 9 douche +5, you know what I'm saying? I can't beat that shit. But what I like talking about YouTube content is because you can go and then you can look at it and you can hear what I said and then you can see what there is, and then again, you can come to your own conclusion. As I will always say, my channels have always been, they're about empowerment, not aggrandizement. I am A-okay if you think I'm an idiot. Just as long as you don't make the comments on my channel too nasty. The whole point is not whether or not I'm right or wrong. It's listening to things that I say and then going and taking a look and then coming to your own conclusion. That's what I want you to do. Come to your own damn conclusion. I can guarantee you. I know how dumb I am. And just because I don't take your folks' advice doesn't mean I don't take a lot of it. It's so funny. Like, there's a lot of people out there like, oh, Eli never apologizes. Eli never takes anybody's advice. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not true. I don't apologize to you, and I don't take your advice. There's a difference between that and not taking anybody's advice. Believe me, I get kicked in the nutsack on a regular basis by people that are actually pretty smart. But anyways, so I was gonna say, so why this was topical is then I went over and I was watching Louis Rossmann's channel, right? And he had this video he put up, I guess about a week ago, from this, and it was like on dealing with depression. On dealing with depression. So I clicked on it, just kind of curious what his viewpoint is, since I do watch some of his videos. I don't really like his Dota videos, like watching Louis Rossmann do Let's Play. Like, I can watch Louis Rossmann do Let's Play, and I can go, that's exactly why I'm not doing Let's Play. It's just like, he gets a lot of views, I do have to say. I'm like, yeah, watching Computer Geek play video games, not quite sure the point of that. Okay, let's see if I can not kill myself. There we go. Anyways, so I was watching his thing on depression, But it's very curious because then he goes into this whole thing, and he talks about how his mom was very depressed growing up and was very, very, very abusive. And he goes into some pretty specifics on how abusive she was. And then talks about getting a phone call where you find out your mom's committed suicide or whatever. And talks about a lot of these other issues, right? And he's also talked in the past about his uncle. There's this whole video on why there's a Dell computer in slot 13 or whatever. And basically he just lays out why he thinks his uncle's a dick. I mean, just like, there's one thing like just calling a family member a dick. Well, the reason that Dell computer is in slot 13 is my uncle's a dick. And then there's doing a dissertation on why your uncle is a dick. The reason is there is because my uncle is a dick. And now let me take the next 30 minutes to spell out paragraph, subparagraph, part 3, why he's a complete and utter dick. And so, that is for Lewis to decide. That is for Lewis to decide what he wants to put in the world. My only concern, like when people see things like that, is again, we all have our own thresholds for what we want to put into the world. Again, I talk about a lot of things on all of my videos, and some of them may seem raw, but they only seem raw because you're looking at it from your point of view. Some of the people, a couple of the people that watch these videos are what you call neurotypicals, basically normal people. And so when you see some of the things that I say, they may seem harsh or vicious or blunt or whatever, but that's just simply because you're seeing it through your viewpoint, right? For me, this is basically how I talk every day, right? I can't imagine out of 2,000 videos, honestly, I don't think there's anything I would back down from. Like if anybody in any of my videos came and confronted me, I don't think I'd back down an iota. Like, again, maybe a little more brutal, maybe it's like one of those things. It may be more blunt than I would say in real life. But I don't think there's anybody that knows me that would be like overly shocked with any of it. It's not, oh my golly, I can't believe he said that. It's like, really? Well, you haven't fucking been paying attention, have you? Oh, right? But the thing is, though, so you see like Lewis, and he starts talking about, like I say, his mom's depression, and this and that, and being a kid, and his uncle's a dick, and dissertation, why his uncle's a dick. I mean, God bless, hey, whatever. But one of the things you have to think about is this something that you feel comfortable putting out to the world? Because again, a lot of folks have this idea that even on YouTube, even with millions, 50,000, like he has like 60,000 followers now, millions of views, but there's still this idea that it's somehow compartmentalized. Like, yeah, it's on YouTube, but the people that I care about or might be worried about this don't actually watch YouTube. Right? And so one of the issues that you run into is, remember, this stuff is basically semi-permanent. Unless you pull it down, it's always going to be there, which basically means most people are lazy, so it's always going to be there. And then more and more people start using YouTube, and so as people start understanding what YouTube is and they get interested in it, and they find, wow, you have a YouTube channel, let me go watch the YouTube channel. And then the question that you have to ask yourself is, what's going to happen when they watch the YouTube channel? Is their poor little idea of what a little saint human being you are going to totally get shredded by the things that you say on the channel? And this is something to like really think about, because I watch a lot of these YouTube content creators and they just put out some brutal shit. Again, I know a lot of folks think I'm like blunt and asinine, but again, I'm blunt and asinine to people like who ask me stupid questions. You email me a stupid question and I will be blunt and asinine. But some of these people, I mean, they're just like balls out. Like, are you sure you really want to say this? Is this really what you want to put out to the world? Like, I was watching this one video, Bashuverse. So he was a Minecraft video creator, right? So he was a content creator, created Minecraft videos and some other stuff. And then he got caught up in these whole like YouTube sex scandals. Now, I have no idea if they're right or wrong or whatever. That's not really my thing. But basically, there's this whole thing about, he was he was boffing or trying to boff underage girls, and there were messages about it and all this kind of stuff, and somehow all this stress, drove him to like giving up his YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. And so again, I have no idea. I don't even know what the hell this guy's name is. It's Bash U Verse. I don't know the girls. Frankly, I don't have a daughter, and so yeah, my caring level and all of that isn't too high. I randomly got sent there because YouTube research, let's just say. So anyway, so I was watching his comeback video. So he was like, "Oh, I left YouTube, and now I'm coming back to YouTube." You're like, okay, whatever. He's like, oh, talking about the stress and all that. Okay, whatever. And then he goes into this whole thing about how he's going to be like high as hell playing his video games. And so if you want to watch video games from somebody being high as hell, then you should go watch his new channel. And I just kind of sat there and I just kind of looked at his video, because this is a 20-something-year-old guy who was doing Minecraft videos, which are basically very kid-centric, who got involved with this whole minor sex thing. And again, I'm not saying one way or the other, because I've been around the block. I understand how stupid crap the real world can be. But then, and you're like, okay, yeah, whatever, that's that. But then he's gone there, and then he starts going into the whole thing about being high as hell playing video games. And you just gotta sit there and you just gotta look at the video and go, you know what? Basically, the reason you got into trouble was over questionable decision making. And now you're creating this video to like 2.9 or 1.8 or whatever. I think it was like 1.8 million subscribers, talking about being high as hell playing video games. I'm just not sure that makes a lot of sense to be publicly documenting for the entire world to hear. Especially after you got into so much trouble over questionable decision making, right? And I think this is one of those things, is like people start feeling, it's like that environment where people start feeling too comfortable. Like, because, like, there's this wall, right? If you're not a YouTube content creator, you don't know this. Once you become one, you'll find it out. But there's like this weird wall. And so when you first start talking into a camera, like there's this wall that's up. Force fields up, force fields, maximum power. And so all your defenses are up, and the wall is up, and all this stuff is up. And basically, you're very, very, very careful about what you say. Very, 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 very careful about what you say. Because you're worried about not looking stupid. The biggest thing in the world is, holy hell, you don't want to look stupid to the world. Well, as you go along, it becomes easier and easier to talk to the camera. Like at some point, staring into its cold little dead Terminator eye isn't as creepy as it used to be. Like I remember when I first started doing the daily blobs, and I put the web camera on the tripod, that felt so weird, because I was just sitting there talking into the cold dead eye of a web camera, right? And it was. So I really thought about the things that I was talking about, and I was obviously much more stilted and all that kind of stuff. But then at some point, you become more and more relaxed with the camera. You start to feel better about what you're saying. You feel more in control, right? And again, as you start to get more subscribers, and you start to get more views, and you start to get more comments, you start relaxing more and more. Because man, this ain't a webcam. This isn't the cold, dead eye of a web camera. This is the beating soul of humanity. And I just want to put everything out there. But again, as you get more and more relaxed, you go from things like talking about, like with me, you go from things like talking about like technology, to then things like talking about, if you look at Louis Rossman, right? You go from things like talking about motherboard repair, and then you get a little more comfortable. And then you start talking about business, and you get a little more comfortable. And you start talking about depression, and you get a little more comfortable. And then you do a dissertation on why your uncle's a dick. And again, Louis is a smart guy. But what I want you folks to think about is, do you really want to confront your first cousin, whatever removed, if you put on YouTube that your uncle's a dick? Because that's what we have to think. Like I say, think about that little 13-year-old corn-fed Indiana girl looking up at you, going, Eli, yeah? Why do you think my dad is a complete and utter asshole? Subparagraph 3, you said dad did. Like, oh golly, right? And that's something I think a lot of people don't think about, is how many people actually listen to the things they're saying. Again, as I say, you know, my wife actually watches the videos. And so, I mean, for me, it's not too bad because I'm not one of these horrible misogynistic horn dogs. But again, you know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, in order to get views or whatever, they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm gonna be like super controversial. I'm just gonna be saying crap. And then, you know, imagine your mom watching those videos. It's like, is your mama gonna be happy? Imagine your grandma. Again, you know, in the modern world, grandmas aren't as old as they used to be. I talked about that before. I find it really weird, like for my generation, like things have changed very quickly. Like for my grandparents, like when they were 60s, you know, they had full dentures, they had hip replacements, they were all crippled up with arthritis. Like 65 within my lifespan has been old. Like I remember all of my grandparents that were in the 60s, 70s, and they were old, right? They were fucking old. They were you know, pull out the rocking chairs, right? Whereas you start looking at it, you look at like my parents, they're kids, and you know, 60, 70, I mean, you know, they're hanging out in Hawaii, they're learning how to surf. I mean, they really are. I mean, I think they're pushing it. You're 65, not 15. But, I mean, they're pushing it a bit. They're being a little stupid. But on the other hand, they're very comfortable in the world. And so think about that. Like, you know, you're 20 years old, and you're going to start doing this, you know, oh, yeah, you know, the way to get hits on YouTube, the way to really become successful, you know, I say misogynistic, you know, sexualized, yeah. And then imagine your grandma seeing that. Or again, imagine crap talking your family, because again, that's one of the big things now. Kind of like what Lewis says, you know, he talks into a webcam for therapy. Well, let's face it, a lot of therapy is required because of family members. Our family screw us up. Right? Which, you know, it's fine, it's normal. Everybody's parents screw you up somehow. But the thing is, though, imagine if you start talking about that. And remember, you know, your parents and your family members are people too. And so imagine if, like, let's say I really did smack talk my father. Let's say I just said, you know, shit about my father. And let's say my father went out and he's real proud because, hey, my guy, my Eli, my boy, he's gone out there and he's been a successful YouTube content creator. And I really want people to know that my boy's gone out there to be successful. So he tells his friends. And then imagine if I'm sitting here shit talking him. And then his best friend, starts watching the video of me shit talking. Do you think that's gonna make my poor little daddy feel better? Or imagine, like I said, because my father has brothers. Imagine one of his brother sits there. Oh. Or imagine my little cousin first removed, whatever the hell. Imagine my little corn-fed girl when she's 14 and we all see her next year and she'd look up at my dad and go, Eli's daddy, why did you do blah, blah, blah? That's just not gonna make anybody happy, right? Yeah, there's a difference between therapeutic and therapy. I can talk about my dad being an engineer, and obviously if he was a good, successful engineer, being a wee bit on the wee side of the whole autistic thing. But, you know, there's a difference between that and, like I say, doing a dissertation on, you know, whatever else. And so one of the things I think you should really think about is if you're going to be a YouTube content creator, is really think about putting up the guards and thinking about what is appropriate to talk about and what is not appropriate to talk about, and what you find appropriate to talk about and not to talk about. Again, you know, if you had issues with your parents and then they both died in a car accident and you're an orphan without a family, again, I'll say what the hell ever you want, right? They're all dead. But, you know, with a lot of these people, I mean, you start saying stuff about your family, like out there on YouTube, and there's gonna be a lot of heartache over that. You put yourself out there for the potential of a lot of pain, and in a way that can't really even be taken back. You know, it's one thing to look at somebody in the square in the eye and say, you son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Because then, again, memories fade, passions fade, everybody kind of gets over it. But you put it onto a video format that the entire world can see, and that's just an entirely different, you know, form of putting a middle finger up for people. You know what I'm saying? That's just the kind of thing where you're like, right? So one of the things that I would say, basically what I would say, like how I put up my little guards or whatever, is one of the things that I think about whenever I talk about things. So I talk about my wife's cancer. I talk about my wife's cancer, right? I don't talk about a lot of other things with my wife. I talk about the whole vegan thing. But there's other things. You know, she's a well-rounded human being. Supplies. I don't talk about that stuff. Why? Because it's not really necessary. The reason I talk about my wife's cancer is because, you know, she got both of those cancers. I think 33 and 35. She will probably watch this video and then correct me. I think it was 33 when she got the thyroid cancer and 35 when she got the breast cancer. And so one of the reasons I talk about her having cancer, I don't talk about there's a lot of stuff that goes into having cancer that I don't talk about. But one of the reasons I just talk about the cancer in pretty blunt terms is because so many of you dumbasses out there keep saying that money isn't valuable. Well, you shouldn't do work simply because you earn a paycheck. People who go out there and they sell their souls for money. Oh, right. And what I try to explain, like I say, with her cancer, is again, you don't think of having those kind of health issues in your early 30s. A lot of people in their early 30s kind of skip the whole health insurance thing. You know, I don't need health insurance. I'm young and healthy. And so when I talk about her, and it's like, you know, a $600 per month health insurance bill, health insurance. Plus we had like a $3,000 deductible. And then on top of that, basically within a 2-year period, we paid $30,000 out of pocket. Not to mention all the work that I couldn't do because either I was worried about her or I was taking care of her, you know, this, that, or the other. All of those things add up to a crap ton of money. So one of the reasons why I explain, I say the thing with cancer is because that is actually like a real world situation that you have to think about. Just because you're healthy now, just because making $20,000 a year now and living your passion sounds cool. Well, the question is what happens if your significant other comes down with cancer twice? Again, I'm not telling you what the right or wrong answer is. I'm just asking you a question. If your significant other came down with cancer twice in the next 2 years, and you had a $600 per month insurance bill, plus you had a $3,000 per year deductible, plus you had $30,000 over 2 years you had to write checks for, on top of that, you lost out on being able to do payable work because you were dealing with all this stuff. Tell me about passion and paychecks now, right? And that's why I talk about it. And then, like I say, I talk about the whole thing with kids being off the table, because again, it's actually it's relevant to like I say, your professional development. Again, if you're going to have kids and you're going to be locked down for 18 years or whatever, you live a life that is different than if you're not, right? So, you know, my wife and I can bounce around. You know, we can go to Southeast Asia for 6 weeks. We can do this. We can do that. We can do the other thing. And again, it is because we don't have kids, right? So if you do have kids, there's other ways. So again, these are larger concepts, and don't go into the tiny nitty gritty because it's crap that you guys don't need to know. That's specific to me. That's specific to us. That's specific to our situation. It's not a overall. It's not something that's topical. That's universal. It's not something that I would argue is universal. And so for me, the things that I think about, like when I do the videos, is I think about universal topics. What are topics that are universal? This isn't me having some stupid argument with my father when I was 15 years old. We all have our own stupid little arguments. They're all very specific. It's more that overarching ideals. The overarching, you know, my father was very upset when I set out on the life path that I was on. Don't have to go into those arguments. And then now we're looking at it 20 years later, and it's like, yeah, who was right, Daddy? You know what I'm saying? But again, those are overarching arguments. Those are the generational arguments. He was a government employee, and for his career, that was a very good thing to be. Again, the world has changed. Amazingly enough, the world has changed since the 70s and 80s. And so explaining that kind of stuff, right? And so what I think about is, like I say, those universal topics that are relevant to everybody. Again, when I talk about having stupid arguments with my father when I was 18, guess what? If you had a father when you were 18, you had stupid arguments with your father. Right, it's just how it is, you know, that the whole argument about what are you going to do with your life is fucking universal. damn near 99.999% of the population has that stupid ass argument. And so like I'll talk about those things again. Talk about the universal stuff. The specifics, the reasons I don't talk about it is one, this is content. We are creating content here. And so when you talk about things, you know, the people that are watching should be able to empathize with this. They should be able to sympathize with it. They should be able to put themselves in that position. And realistically, if they can't, then you're not really creating content anymore. You're just yabbering into a camera. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing that I would say with being a YouTube content creator is I never say anything on here that I wouldn't say to the person's face. And generally, I've already said to the person's face. Generally, many times to the person's face, right? So if I do talk about things, I talk about my wife with veganism or this or that or the other, there's already been 1,000 discussions. And so I don't think anybody should watch these videos and then be like horribly shocked with the things that I say. Oh my golly, I can't believe you thought that way. Yeah, what? Then you haven't been paying attention. Then you haven't been paying attention. It's not because I haven't said it, right? And I think if you think of these things, it'll make doing your YouTube content creation a lot better. Again, the big problem that I see with a lot of people is they at some point they forget that YouTube, they see YouTube, YouTube, like MeTube. And it's not. It's content tube. It's about the content. Again, the more universal, the more interesting the content is, the better it will be received. And there's this weird place where in some people's minds it shifts from being about content to being about them, right? And so again, you'll notice whenever I do any of these videos, almost all the time, there is a topic for the video. Even when I'm wandering around the woods, like today, you know, YouTube and porn stars, there's a very specific topic because it's not about me. I am the voice of the knowledge that I have learned, and I am simply putting it out there. Right? Things to be thinking about. Because again, just like those porn stars, everybody's gonna watch. Everybody's gonna watch. And that's the thing. As you become more and more and more popular, the question you really have to ask yourself is how comfortable do you feel as more and more people watch your old videos? Again, like I say, a lot of people become very successful off of some just very harsh stuff. I mean, just very harsh, blunt, you know, in-your-face stuff. And then again, for the first year you do it, you know, who the hell cares? The first 2 years you do it, who the hell cares? But then 4 years, 5 years down the road, if your family finally starts to get onto YouTube and they start watching those videos, how comfortable are you gonna be? Again, I mean, it's like I say, father issues or what. I was talking to my father one time. It was like 2 years ago, I think it was. I think it was like 2 years ago. Again, one of those great universal moments. But it really was true. Like we were sitting there and we were talking on the phone, and then he was like, "Yeah, so how's that YouTube thing doing for you?" And, you know, you're just sitting there like, that YouTube thing. Let me tell you, Dad, how that YouTube thing is doing for me. And then I spelled out to him how much money I made that year. And then there was just that silence on the other side of the line. You know what I'm saying? There's just that beautiful fucking quiet. You know, there's just that quiet. As it, like, things start going into gear. He's like, "Excuse me, how much did you say?" And I told him. And he was like, oh. And it's like, yeah, that YouTube thing is going quite good. Thank you very much. But the thing is, again, like I say, if you're a YouTube content creator, a lot of your friends and family or whatever, they may look at your content creation the way other people look at, you know, playing video games as like a hobby or whatever. I mean, they may be proud of you for doing it. They may be happy for you for doing it, but they may not think it's like a real thing. And so, you know, if they don't think it's a real thing, they're not going to bother to watch any of the videos. They're not going to really pay attention because you're off doing your hobby, which is fine. That's hunky-dory, no big deal. But the thing is then once you become successful, once they come over to your house and they're looking around your house like, wow, that's a nice house. That's a nice car out there. What the hell are you doing in life? And you go, YouTube videos. Yeah, I'm pretty fucking popular on YouTube. I know this whole YouTube famous thing is apparently a joke for some reason, but it's true. It's true. And then they go, huh, well, shit, I gotta watch some of your stuff. And they're like, huh? Well, no. Why don't you watch Philip DeFranco? Yeah, Philip DeFranco. I think you would much prefer Philip. No, I'm gonna watch some of your stuff. No. I think you'd like Philip DeFranco better. No. But obviously, look, my boy's doing good. I want to watch your. Right. That's what you got to think about, because again, it's not about them watching it now, it's about watching them, years from now or whatever. And is that the kind of stuff that you want to put in the world? Again, porn makes girls lots of money. And again, I genuinely have nothing against porn. Again, I'm not that moral, ethical stuff. That's all for somebody else to decide. My question is, how do you feel about your grandson fapping to you 40 years from now? And I think if you think about your grandson fapping to you 40 years from now, it just puts it in a little bit different perspective. I'm not saying you won't do it. Hey, who knows? I'm not moral, ethical, all right? But again, it's just that different, like, right? And again, like I say, as you sit there and you start talking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna let it out. I'm gonna be real. And you're like, yeah, do you really want it to be that real? If your father, your mom's on their deathbed, and then for some reason they decide, oh, you're flying. Think about that. Think about one of your family members is on their deathbed, and you're flying in to see him. You're across the country, and you're flying in to see him. But they just want to hear your voice before they pass to the other side. And then they click on that video, and you're being real on that video. And the last words they hear is whatever that video was. I'm just saying. Is that something that's going to make you proud? Is that something that's going to make you uber super happy? You know what I'm saying? Again, as I say, my father may I scared the person. I scared her. Yes, I know. I'm sitting here right beside the trail talking into camera. I'm so camouflaged. I'm like super camouflaged. I'm yabbering into a camera. You're hiding there, talking into your camera with a big camera. And what are you gonna do? It's my job. Don't you be microaggressing me, man. And it's funny. Like as I look people go by, it's like, no, it's my job. Again, back to that whole pay thing off of YouTube. It's actually my job. Anyways, I'm just not a pretty face. But yeah, so I mean that's the whole thing. Like I say, my father's on the deathbed watching these videos. I mean, he may shake his head a little bit, but fuck, he's been doing that all his life. I don't think there's any point that he's gonna be like, I can't believe my son felt that way. He'll just be like, I don't understand what he's doing. I never understood what he was doing though. But there you go. So one of those things to be thinking about. Are you, do you feel comfortable with what you're putting out there for the world forever? Something to think about. But anyways, we'll just walk up the road here. It's a lot more popular on this trail today than I was expecting. A lot more popular. It's kind of funny. Like I got much weirder looks and such today by the white people on a trail in the woods, and then I got it in Bangkok. I guess they all look at me like, I don't know, weird. All the weird cappuccino people are like, yeah, that's those weird white people. All the white people are like, what's wrong with that person? He's a psychopath talking into his camera. No, I'm just a YouTuber. Do not microaggress me. I will not accept it. I am a YouTube American. I'm a content creator American. I'm a YouTube American. Sounds kind of cool. I wonder if Grade A would pick that up. Well, no, he's like UK. I'm a YouTube American. I'm a YouTubist. Anyways. So yeah, we're back out. Nice, beautiful roads. That makes sense. No tuk-tuks. I do kind of miss the tuk-tuks. It is kind of one of those weird things in the modern world where it's like, something that is so annoying, like all those tuk-tuk drivers, tuk-tuk, right? They would do all that crap, and you get so annoyed with them. And then again, it's kind of like that reacclimatization thing. And then you come back to the United States where it's so quiet and so clean, and you're like, why isn't anybody whistling at me? Darn it, is something wrong? Why are people not being as obnoxious as hell? I just don't get it. See, this is how you cross a road in the United States. Dum da dee, da dum da dee, da dum da dee, da dum. You want to have a nap? Let's have a nap. Da dee, da dum, da dee, da dum. That's how you cross a road in the United States. You just stroll across it. You stroll across it, you find a nice little place, you throw out a mattress, you throw out a pillow, take a little nap. You'll be fine. Yeah, this is why I was so like all the Asian people that were watching my videos and thinking, huh, why is he so stressed crossing our roads? The reason is because these are the roads that we have in the United States. Like literally, since I crossed, there has not been a single car or tuk-tuk or anything else. So that was good. That was good. That's our first little Let's Live in a while. I like doing these Let's Live. So even here in Maryland, there's lots of different parks to walk around. So my plan is to, I don't know if it's gonna be every day, because I do have to drive to the parks and such. But if it's not every day, every other day, or every other day or whatever, I plan to go to a different park and show you folks what it's like here. Because that's one of the things, like, it kind of hit me with our travels over the past year and a half, because we traveled all, you know, we spent 9 months traveling the United States and then like Asia and all that. But that you don't realize that a lot of the world is not nearly as green and is just as vibrant as like Maryland and the East Coast of the United States is. Like you don't like on the East Coast, like trees and forests like this is the complete norm. Just forest as far as the eye can see, or at least until you hit the next subdevelopment, is what's normal. And you don't realize until you go to a lot of the rest of the world how abnormal that is. Like there's a lot of the world that's very arid. Like even if they have trees, it's like one tree for every mile or something. So anyways, so we will show you more of Maryland. And then as I say, once we go out to, I guess the beginning of June, we will head off into the great yonder, go up to the Adirondacks and Acadia and Katadyn. Anyways, lots of different places, planning all that out. So anyways, I think that's about all I have to say today. I gave you guys a good hour and 6 minutes. So you'll feel very proud of that. I feel like we're getting back in the flow, even if I'm not completely with it yet. So anyways, with that, we'll just finish off with this view, and I'll talk with you all again tomorrow.